Oh yeah, what up? This is going to be my thoughts of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter 2008 awards, and these awards were given out by the Wrestling Observer Newsletter, Dave Meltzer's newsletter, and pretty much was voted on by a staff of number of people. And there's a couple things in these awards that I disagree with heavily. Mostly, I agree with a lot of the awards, but there are a few that I really highly disagree with. And plus, I just want to get my thoughts out on the 2008 awards from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. First award is the Luthez / Ric Flair. Essentially, this award is the Wrestler of the Year award, and this actually goes to Chris Jericho. And I would say Chris Jericho definitely deserved winning this award and being Wrestler of the Year of 2008 because if you really think about it, he was pretty much the most valuable player in 2008. There's other people you could have had considerations for this. You could have had maybe considerations for Nigel McGuinness because he had a great world title reign and still is the world champion of Ring of Honor. He had a great year. Triple H, I would say you almost could consider him, but he had a pretty stale title reign. John Cena, he really didn't do much in 2008 until he finally won the world title in the end. So really it comes down to, in TNA, you really didn't have anyone. You know, you had Samoa Joe's 6-month title reign, but it was poorly booked. So in the long run, you kind of have to go with Chris Jericho. He was definitely one of the most valuable players for WWE in 2008, and I definitely do agree with his selection as Wrestler of the Year. Next award is the Most Outstanding Wrestler, and to no one's surprise, I think for maybe the third or possibly even fourth year, Bryan Danielson won this award, and definitely can't really disagree with this. Don't think that many people can really disagree with this award for Most Outstanding Wrestler and Bryan Danielson. He's definitely one of those very few stars who can go out there and perform great matches pretty much against anyone. Like I've said before, the only other person that you could probably put in that category or in that category is probably, Ric Flair in his prime, and definitely, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle's wrestling ability is great as well. Kurt Angle's probably the only one that you could possibly argue that could maybe beat Bryan Danielson in the Most Outstanding Wrestling category, but I'm a huge Danielson fan, so I have to agree with this award. Next one is the Best Box Office Draw, and this is not a wrestler that won this, well, a former wrestler, but not actually a WWE, TNA, or Ring of Honor performer. Brock Lesnar won this award for the UFC. Definitely he is the biggest box office draw right now. Not only is he the biggest draw, but the UFC in general and mixed martial arts is obviously the bigger draw as far as pay-per-views for the most part and as far as the fan base that they have. Now, the television ratings really don't prove that, but the pay-per-view buy rates definitely show that they have a cult following, and not even more of a cult following. They're just loved by so many people. And Brock Lesnar, a former wrestler in UFC, definitely glad he had success in there. And definitely, he is the biggest box office draw at this point in, not only wrestling, but in the MMA world as well. As seen by how his pay-per-view buy rates did for his fights he had in 2008. Definitely very high numbers, like you probably would expect. Then the next award is Feud of the Year, and this goes to Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels. And this definitely was, in my opinion, the best feud of 2008. Really enjoyed their feud. They had great storytelling in their matches, and pretty much all their matches, they always went out there and performed and put on very good matches. And, it had a good story behind it, good storyline, and really enjoyed their feud. So definitely, I would say, definitely the best feud of 2008. The only one that I would say it's a runner-up in my opinion, and I even love the feud, which was the Jimmy Jacobs and Austin Aries feud, which was an excellent feud, but I would still put the Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels feud over that one. As far as, if you have to, go by the awards, you kind of have to sometimes pick the major companies of WWE and TNA over Ring of Honor. And, the Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho feud was very, very good, I would say. Then the next award is Tag Team of the Year, and this is actually the first time that WWE has won this award since 2002. So this is the first time they actually won a Tag Team of the Year award. Nod back then in 2002, I think it was the tag team of Los Guerreros of Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero that picked up the honors in 2002. And this year, John Morrison and The Miz picked up the honors for Tag Team of the Year. And definitely I would agree with this. The only tag team that I would say you could possibly argue is maybe the Briscoes, but you can't put them over Morrison and Miz for this year in 2000 and last year in 2008, mainly due to the fact that the injury-prone Mark Briscoe, he got injured and was out of action for at least several months. That hurt their pace of what they were going to be doing as a tag team, and that kind of hurts them. You can't put LAX, the Motion Machine Guns, in here because they didn't do much in TNA at all. And I would say John Morrison, The Miz overall definitely did a very good job in 2008 as a tag team, and still are doing a good job as being a tag team as well. So definitely I agree with that award being for them as tag team of the year. Next one is the most improved, and this one goes to The Miz. I would definitely say The Miz is one of those guys that really has improved a lot, especially last year in 2008. He improved greatly from what he was the year before. Not that he's a great in-ring performer, but he's improved his in-ring skills up to par enough that with his great mic skills, he can be a very good performer in WWE, because that was pretty much the thing that was hurting him. He was kind of like the Santino Marella before that, where he was more or less, you knew he was a good entertainer, you knew he was good and charismatic on the mic, but he didn't have the in-ring talent, and he's really starting to really improve that a lot. The next award is the best on interviews, basically best on promos, obviously. And this award goes to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho definitely picked up a lot of honors and awards in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, like you're going to see coming up in many more awards. Definitely, I would say he did a great job as, his heel persona in 2008, turning into being a great heel in his feud with Shawn Michaels, and just is, excellent, even though it didn't have that great of a build-up. He really, with his promos, made his matches with John Cena at the 2 back-to-back pay-per-view Survivor Series and Armageddon seem even more important with the way his promo skills were. So definitely, I would say, yeah, he's definitely the best at promos in 2008 of last year. The next one is the most charismatic. Now, this award was given to someone a lot of people dislike, but you can't really disagree with it. The award was given to John Cena. John Cena is one of those guys, people are either love him or hate him. I actually am somewhat a fan of him, and I will say easily he is definitely the most charismatic performer in wrestling going today. If you just look at the ratings when he returned, that just shows you how charismatic he is, that people actually will go out their way, and more people would actually tune into a Monday Night Raw if John Cena's on there than if he's not on there. And, he can ignite the crowd, whether he's getting, cheered or booed, he doesn't really care, and I would say he's definitely the most charismatic performer since the era of, the Attitude Era with Austin and The Rock. He's definitely this generation's, Austin, Rock, or this generation's Hogan. He's definitely one of those guys that are like that, and one of the very few wrestlers that can actually, somewhat draw ratings, draw pay-per-view buys just with his name on the event. And then the next award is the most technical wrestler, and this award goes to Bryan Danielson. And like I said, with most outstanding wrestler, you can't really disagree with this. As far as him being the best technical wrestler, there's probably no one I really can say that could outbeat him as far as a technical ability, other than, like I said, Kurt Angle, possibly Austin Aries, and Nigel McGuinness when he really wants to. He can perform very good mat wrestling and technical wrestling, so definitely I agree with this award being Bryan Danielson being the best technical wrestler. And then the next award is the Bruiser Brody Memorial Award, which is pretty much the Best Brawler Award, and this goes to Necro Butcher. This is actually the first time Necro Butcher has picked up this award, and definitely, I would say he deserves it. He's one of those guys that put his body on the line for the fans. He will do crazy, insane stuff to his body just to please the fans. And, at first I wasn't really much a fan of him the last, couple years. He definitely started to finally kind of grow on me in 2008. I don't know, can't really explain why, but he's kind of one of those wrestlers, after seeing for a while, he kind of can grow on you. You might not like him at first, but then he'll grow on you, and you'll actually start liking what he's doing. And, he's definitely put his body on the line for the wrestling industry. Definitely deserves the Best Brawler Award. And then the next award is Best Flying Wrestler, which I think is the idiotic name. I don't know why they call it Best Flying Wrestler. Wouldn't it be better to call it Best High Flyer? That sounds a whole lot better. And this award was given to Evan Bourne. No surprise that he picked up this award. He definitely had a breakout year for the WWE back in 2008, and until he got injured, he looked like he was going in a great streak of, what WWE is going to be giving him a very big push. Hopefully when he returns, they do the same thing. Then the next award is the most overrated wrestler, which this award used to actually mean something as far as the wrestlers overrated. You know, when I think of overrated, you have to kind of be good, or you have to be loved, or somewhat adored by people to, you know, get this award. The last several years, this award's been pretty much, you know, who do you think's the worst wrestler of the year? Because Vladimir Kozlov picks up the honors for this award. I don't see how he can win most overrated, where even the casual fans don't buy him as a mean, tough guy. And, you know, he's definitely one of the worst wrestlers going today. And, you know, hopefully WWE learns that and finally figures out, don't try to push him too hard and just scrap him from the roster. He's one of those guys I would say definitely get rid of. Then the next award is the most underrated, which this award's pretty much showing that, kind of giving a hint to, you know, whichever organization wrestler wins this award. It's pretty much telling an organization, hey, you really need to push this guy. This guy has very good potential for your organization. MVP picks up the award here. Definitely agree with it. Hopefully WWE does do something with this whole MVP losing streak where he actually finally picked up a victory, and hopefully they lead this off to something, possibly maybe a Money in the Bank opportunity and have him win that and possibly cash in and win the world title later on this year during the summer or fall of 2009. He's definitely one of those performers I would like to see as a future world heavyweight champion. Then the next award is the Promotion of the Year, and this goes to not a wrestling organization. This goes to the UFC. Can't really argue with this. UFC is probably one of those companies that makes the most money, more than WWE overall, and definitely, you know, has a very big fan base as far as its pay-per-view buy rates go, and definitely can't really argue with that. You kind of have to put them as the best promotion of the year. Now, if I had to pick, you know, best wrestling promotion, that was kind of hard in 2008 because Ring of Honor had up and down, TNA was up and down, and WWE was the same thing. So you kind of had to almost pick a non-wrestling company for, you know, promotion of the year here, since those other promotions had up and down years, where UFC really, you know, had a very, very successful year in 2008 and probably even had more successful year in 2009. And then the next award goes to Best Weekly Television Show, and this award goes to The Ultimate Fighter Show. And actually, I am an MMA fan. I'm not like a diehard MMA fan. I'm pretty much, I would consider myself a casual MMA fan, which I would probably say this is the reason why I don't enjoy this show as much as other people do, because I feel The Ultimate Fighter is probably one of those shows, if you're a diehard and you're an MMA purist, then you probably love the show. And I'm not going to diss the show or say anything bad about it, because, you know, I'm not a diehard MMA fan where, you know, if a show like that was done with pro wrestling, I know I would love it. You know, even Tough Enough wasn't the greatest, but since, you know, it was kind of, you know, that type of show with wrestling, I enjoyed that, so I can definitely see why people enjoy The Ultimate Fighter. And then the next award is for the Match of the Year. This is the award that I really, really highly had to disagree with the Wrestling Observer newsletter having this even nominated for Match of the Year. Now, it's not a bad match, but it's not an excellent match or a match you would look back and say, hey, that was the Match of the Year. A lot of people were expecting, okay, Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels to win Match of the Year from WrestleMania 24. Now, even though in my opinion I would view that match as overrated and it's not an excellent 5-star class, it was a very good to great match. I just didn't enjoy it as much as other people will, but with the importance of it, I probably would have
selected it, you know, for one of these awards for, you know, one of this. It kind of shocked me that they didn't pick that. You're probably going to be surprised. Obviously, a lot of people probably already know what it is because people already seen the awards, and this is Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels from No Mercy, the ladder match. Now, it was a good ladder match, not a great ladder match, not even a match I probably would consider in the top 25 matches of the year in 2008. It was a good match, but not an excellent match, and really disappointed me they picked this. It's not the worst thing I've seen picked as far as Match of the Year by Wrestling Observer newsletter or any other publication. You know, I think the worst thing was back at, I think it was WrestleMania 21 or 22 when they had Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon. That actually won the fans voting in the PWI magazine. That kind of lost a little credibility with those awards. Then the next award goes to Rookie of the Year, and this is a wrestler I'm not actually familiar with. Most of the time with Rookie of the Year I'm kind of familiar with, and I'm not familiar with this performer. I'm not sure how you say the name of the wrestler. I think it's K-I, it's K-A-I, and it's a wrestler from the All Japan Pro Wrestling promotion. So haven't really seen much of him, so I can't really comment on him. And then the next award is the
Best non-wrestler, and this award goes to Larry Sweeney. Larry Sweeney picks up the nod for Best Non-Wrestler, and definitely got to agree with that. He's definitely one of those guys that is definitely, even though the wrestling managerial role is pretty much dead, he's one of those guys that's, you know, the dying breed of it that's really keeping the managerial role open. And hopefully WWE or TNA tries to do something with managers again in wrestling, because that's actually something in wrestling I always loved, as far as, you know, the old school NWA stuff, the world-class stuff, and old WWF and WCW was the managers and valets. Then the next award is Best TV Announcer. This kind of shocked me who it went to. It went to Matt Stryker from the ECW brand, which I've been hearing a lot of people praising him. I can't really comment. Do I think he's a great announcer? I think he's a subpar announcer. I think he's okay. I have to kind of be, you know, kind of have to go with Jim Ross, because Jim Ross is definitely one of those commentators that I actually will say is easily the best commentator in my opinion. I kind of have to always say he's the best, because he's pretty much the only one that you could say that about. Prazak does a good job, but not a great job. Then the next one is Worst TV Announcer. This probably came to no one's shock. Mike Adamle picked this up. Definitely the worst announcer, worst GM, worst role for a you know, non-wrestler, you know, utilizing him. But you got to say one thing: he was kind of, you know, hated so much that maybe WWE should have tried a little more with him, and maybe try to do something more with him, since he was hated so much by the fans. Next award is the Best Major Show. This went to WrestleMania 24. Definitely got to agree with that. WrestleMania 24 was an excellent show. Now, was it my favorite show of 2009, 2008 as far as pay-per-views? No, I actually preferred the Royal Rumble over it, but WrestleMania 24 was an excellent show as well, and this was Best Major Show, so like stuff like Supercard of Honor 3, I don't think was even eligible, or I don't know if they even nominated it for, you know, Best Major Show. The next award is the Best Wrestling Maneuver, and this goes to Evan Bourne's Shooting Star Press. Definitely, you know, the Shooting Star Press is, you know, a move that a lot of performers did back in the day and still even do on the indie circuit. But the way Evan Bourne, aka Matt Sydal, does the maneuver and how he just lands the Shooting Star Press, it's just so perfect every time, and every time you see it, it's like, oh my God, that's just amazing. Then the next award is the Worst Wrestling Show of the Year, and this actually kind of came to somewhat of a surprise to me. This was actually given to WWE Survivor Series 2008. Now, I thought the show was an average show probably at best. You had an excellent match with Cena and Jericho on there. Everything else was pretty much subpar or average on the show. Wouldn't classify it as the worst show. I probably wouldn't even classify it as the top 5 worst show of 2008. I mean, you had other worst shows than you had, you know, Great American Bash from WWE. You had One Night Stand, which I wouldn't classify that because you actually had a great main event on there. Then you had Judgment Day, which was terrible. Then TNA, you had Destination X. You had the 2 last pay-per-views of the year, and Turning Point and Final Resolution. And you had a couple others, I think, like Sacrifice, that wasn't that good. So definitely Survivor Series wasn't the worst show, in my opinion. Wasn't a great show. I would say it was an average show. Then the next award is for the then the next award goes to the most disgusting promotional tactic, and this award goes to the WWE's tactic of doing the Jeff Hardy attack at a stairwell at a hotel and found unconscious, and the way they worded it on their website back before the Survivor Series pay-per-view. And looking back at it now, it's not as disgusting as it once was, but for that one day and until they actually turned it into an angle, it was definitely a very disgusting tactic for organization. Because when you hear, you know, a news site, not a news site, but WWE has posted, you know, actually when wrestlers have passed away, like Eddie Guerrero's death, and this was just 3 years after Eddie Guerrero's death, and he was found unconscious, and he was found dead in a hotel. And I think it was just in poor taste for them to do this with Jeff Hardy. You know, looking back, it's not as disgusting as it was that day, since it actually is going to turn into something with Christian Cage. But definitely, nonetheless, it's still one of those things you have to say at the time, and the reasoning why they probably gave this award to it, like I said, it was definitely a disgusting tactic for them to do this. And then the next award is the Worst TV Show. This is given to TNA Impact for the 2nd year in a row, and definitely shows TNA, you need to step your game up. You need to improve your television program. You have to improve your pay-per-views, which actually they were going on the pace of actually improving their pay-per-views. I thought they had a very good stretch from Slammiversary 2008 up until probably Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory I thought was a pretty average show. That was kind of their last stretch of good pay-per-views in my opinion, though. Then they killed it the following 2 months with their last two terrible pay-per-views of 2008, but definitely need to improve their TV show. Their TV show, even during their great years in TNA in 2004 and 2005, and 2006 was good. They still didn't have a great TV show. They need to definitely improve their TV show. If you don't have a good TV show, people aren't going to go out your way to see your pay-per-views, no matter how good the pay-per-views are. Even though the pay-per-views aren't as good as ones they once were. But if you want people to buy their pay-per-views, you're going to have to improve your TV show. That's the thing that really drives people to buy the pay-per-views if you have a great TV show. Then the next award is the worst match of the year. And this actually kind of surprised me what it got. Now, it was actually a bad match, but it wasn't the worst match of the year. It actually went to the Triple H versus Vladimir Kozlov versus Edge from Survivor Series 2008. And this was, at first it was intentionally going to be a three-way with Kozlov, Triple H, and Jeff Hardy. But Jeff Hardy, with the attack they did, Jeff Hardy found unconscious. Edge took his spot. And at first, it was Kozlov and Triple H, which was god-awful stuff they put on. But I wouldn't classify this as the worst match. TNA put on two worse matches than this, and that was, the black tie brawl and chain match that Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal had, and not only that, I think the worst match last year was, I think it was No Surrender, where they did the AJ Styles versus Frank Trigg MMA style rules match, which was terrible, and I don't know how that didn't win as far as worst match of the year, especially when you have fans chanting, we want wrestling, this is bullshit, and it basically saying, fuck this shit, we don't want to see this. Just the fans' reaction to there almost classifies that as a worst match, just because how pissed off the fans were viewing that match in the live attendance. Then the next award is for the worst feud of 2008, and this goes to Rey Mysterio versus Kane. I know a lot of people are disagreeing with this one. I know a lot of people are saying the Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt feud was the worst feud of the year, which it wasn't an excellent feud, but it wasn't by far as bad as the Rey Mysterio and Kane feud was, because I didn't enjoy the Kane and Rey Mysterio feud at all. It was god-awful. They never put on a good match, at least in my opinion. And as far as the Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt feud, you didn't have, that many great matches, but I think the only thing that really classified them not getting the nod for the worst feud of the year is that they actually had one good match against each other, which was the Ladder of Love match. Now, I know that, the whole gimmick and the idea of the ring above there, and that's the thing they had to grab, was very cheesy, but nonetheless, they still had a very good ladder match. And I would say, actually, if that was a regular ladder match and it was a title up there and it didn't have a very predictable ending like it with SoCal Val turning on Jay Lethal, then it probably would, in my book, be classified as a better ladder match than actually the Shawn Michaels and Jericho match was, because actually the stuff that Lethal and Dutt did in their match, I enjoyed more than the Shawn and Jericho match, but, with the gimmick of it, that's the thing that really killed that match, or at least hurt it in some senses. Then the next award is for the worst promotion of the year, and this goes to TNA. TNA's picking up a couple awards here, but not good ones. They're picking up, worst TV show and worst promotion. So that's definitely showing TNA, even though if you don't think you need to improve as an organization. You're not doing that good. Then the next award is for the best booker, and this goes to actually a non-wrestling company, and this goes to Joe Silva of the UFC. And this kind of thing right here, I have to disagree with. This is one of those things, like, I don't mind the UFC being involved in, TV show of the year or promotion of the year, because I can agree with that, and I can see the point and the reason why they would be, nominated and they could win those awards. But as far as best booker, the UFC is a real sport. It's not like pro wrestling. It's not scripted. You don't have bookers, determining the outcome and determining the way they're going to end up going in the future with their company. So that's the thing. I can't really take it serious being a UFC booker being, the best booker. Even though if you look at it, Gabe Sapolsky had a down year. TNA didn't do much in WWE, so it's kind of like promotion of the year. Since the other ones were up and down, you almost had to give it to UFC since, none of the wrestling organizations did anything great as far as booking, or, no one you would classify as an excellent booker in 2008, because even though Gabe did do some good stuff in 2008, it was definitely his year that, he was definitely burnt out and, definitely started, showing his downturns as far as a booker at the latter part of the year, and then obviously Adam Pearce replacing him. The next award is for the best gimmick of the best gimmick, and this goes to Santino Marella, and for the gimmick he does, and he does just an excellent job with the Italian stereotype, and definitely, he's an excellent guy, as far as, his mic work. Now, he's one of those guys that at some point or another, even though as good as he is on the mic and how charismatic his gimmick is, he's one of those guys that is going to definitely have to improve his wrestling ability, which it sounds like he's already starting to try to do that, because William Regal is trying to train him behind the scenes and try to teach him, a little more better, in-ring work to do and stuff to do in his matches. So that'll be one thing. And I think I've already went over it, but I'm not sure. I think I've already went over Promotion of the Year, UFC 1 Promotion of the Year, which can't really disagree with that. And then the last award goes to the worst gimmick of the year, and actually goes to the Great Khali's Indian Playboy gimmick, which isn't an excellent gimmick, but the thing you got to think of, you can't really classify this as a terrible or god-awful or a worst gimmick, mainly due to the fact that this gimmick actually got the Great Khali the most over he's ever been, actually got him in some type of role where he doesn't have to perform and wrestle all the time, which he didn't want to do since his knees are really hurting him now, and he probably will have to get surgery if he wants to, perform more in the ring on a more frequent basis, and it does a good job for him, and, the fans buy him as this, Indian Playboy. It's very funny. It's one of those gimmicks that got him the most over as is, so you can't really classify it as the worst gimmick. I would say, worst gimmick, something like the Prince Justice Brotherhood, the Curry Bane Shark Boy, and Super Eric thing, which those were terrible. Probably Super Eric's probably the worst gimmick of last year in 2008. That was the most god-awful thing to see. Or maybe the Suicide gimmick, which is kind of, a terrible gimmick as well, but not as bad as the Prince Justice Brotherhood. So, just wanted to give through my thoughts on the Wrestling Observer 2008 newsletter or awards from 2008, and yeah, that's my thoughts on them. All right, peace.